to here with Brian Hoyer, but they're further than that with Manziel and what they think he can do.
Well, let me just make my final point here, and it has something to do with Johnny Manziel. And if you go back to last Wednesday when Pettin made it official, Brian Hoyer was going to start, and then they went in the locker room and they interviewed Johnny Manziel. One of the things that Manziel said was, I'm going to erase all doubt next time. They'll have faith in me that I'm able to go out there and do this job. Well, the next thing you know, Johnny Manziel doesn't even show up on time to play in a football game. Now, one of the things is, when you're in a regimented regime like the Cleveland Browns or the military of the United States, you don't go late. You don't do what you want.
Brother,
you
don't
do
go
what they
to
tell
work
you when
late.
They tell you, and how they tell you to do it.
Forget the military or a regimented regime like the front office. You don't go to work late, period. Like, come on. It's work. But you know what? Again, that plays into the other stuff that has nothing to do with on the field that we're talking about here. I got to tell you, man, where there's smoke, there is fire. Absolutely. The fact that was a conversation here this weekend, man, it screams volumes when you've got a quarterback who his offense has dealt, whether you want to blame the quarterback or not, the offense has delved into the depths, into the absolute depths. I'm going to say this, guys. If I'm an agent in professional sports, I'm making a new class for my clients. It's called Johnny Football 101, and it's a class on how not to start your pro sports career, because this kid has written the book on how not to get on the field as easily as possible. I mean, this should be a no-brainer when you've got a first-round pick and this type of offensive production for a month. The fact that it's not is all you need to say. Clearly from day one, Johnny Manziel has said, I'm going to do what I want, when I want, how I want, and I don't care who likes it. But I'm just saying that kept you off the field. You can say what you want, but that's the reason that you haven't played. And I got a funny feeling that that's going to be a reason that other things happen to you before your career is over. And if you don't perform, then that'll be a reason why people will forever talk to you as Johnny Bust. But we'll see what happens. I'm just saying, though, you show up late on the week that everybody's screaming for you to be the quarterback. You can't be denser and more. What's it from Shawshank Redemption? Can you be more obtuse to not win this job at this point? LG, my man, I got to go.
Okay, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
You got it. I'm just saying. I mean, think about it. We're past does J-Rock like Brian Hoyer or Johnny Football? If at this point you still cannot grab that brass ring, then there's a reason that your hands are soaked in Vaseline, brother, and you need to think about that. We all need to think about that. Wow. First hour has already blown by. Let's keep this conversation going. When we come back, oh, okay, I got it. He didn't want to have to deal with the media in the pregame. I got it. You know, a lot of backup quarterbacks do that. They slip in while the rest of the team's on the field already going through warm-ups. We'll be right back to talk about that. Let's get the news out of the way. Dan Wismar from the Cleveland Fan on the hotline, and we'll pick up this conversation here. We'll talk more about the Browns and the Colts and where they go from here. Dan was in the house. I can't wait to hear his thoughts on and explanations about how I'm curious because I was listening very intently yesterday to the reactions coming from in the house, but Dan was right there. So we'll talk to him about that, and we'll talk playoffs. I mean, in every aspect, because there is a playoff in college football. It's been a long time coming, and the Buckeyes cracked the top four. We'll talk about their journey there. Blowout whitewashing of Wisconsin. 59 reasons why the Buckeyes are in the playoffs. Let's talk about all of that and more after the news, coming up next with Dan Wismar from the Cleveland Fan. Next.
Impression is a frustrating mess. Wow.
unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of sound. A dimension of mind. You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've just crossed over into...
The Sports Fix. We'll be right back. It's an addiction. The Sports Fix. We'll be right back.
Business owners and professionals, do you want to take your business, your product, your team, your event to the next level? You want to advertise right here with the Sports Fix. Our listeners are among the most loyal listeners, terrestrial or internet. The Sports Fix universe is not only the radio show, but tens of thousands of fans on Facebook and Twitter. Email me, Jerry Myers, thesportsfix@AOL.com. That's thesportsfix@AOL.com. And let me help you swing for the fences and hit it out of the park right here on the Sports Fix. Whether it's an oil change or a new set of tires, Quick Lane at Valley Ford Truck has you covered for your automotive car care needs. They're your neighborhood quick service experts. They also offer a low price tire guarantee. Choose from 13 brands, and if you find the same tires at a lower price within 30 days, Quick Lane at Valley Ford will refund the difference. They're open late Monday through Thursday until 9 p.m. and open early Saturday so you can check it off your to-do list and get on with your day. They also have a newly remodeled service lounge and additional service bay just for Quick Lane oil changes. Quick Lane at Valley Ford Truck is located at 5715 Canal Road, right under the 480 Bridge in Valley View, just down the road from Independence. 5715 Canal Road, right under the 480 Bridge in Valley View, just down the road from Independence. Come see why life is better in the Quick Lane. QuickLane.com/Valley Ford Truck. That's QuickLane.com/Valley Ford Truck.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Signs and Ship, the official printing source of the Sports Fix. Locations in Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and Florida. Find out more at signsandship.com.
News break.
I'm Christine Lisi. Here's what's happening. Aaron Rodgers makes his 100th career start when he and the Packers host the Falcons on Monday Night Football, 8:30 Eastern on ESPN. At Lambeau Field this season, the Packers are 6-0. Rodgers has thrown for 20 touchdowns, no picks, in 182 attempts. The 5-7 Falcons atop the NFC South. Rodgers and the Packers lead the NFC North at 9-3.
When they put it all together, it's a very talented football team. So we're going to be expecting their best shot. They're fighting for a playoff spot, so are we. We'd like to get to 10 wins before we can start talking about the B word. So we'll hopefully get that done this week.
Aaron Rodgers, one day after his Horned Frogs fell 3 spots to 6 in the final rankings and were left out of the college football playoff, TCU coach Gary Patterson was on Mike, and Mike said it's disappointing, but he sees this as an opportunity for his team to prove itself. The Horned Frogs play Mississippi in the Peach Bowl on December 31st. Baseball winter meetings are underway. CBSSports.com reports free agent righty Jason Hamill close to a deal to returning to the Cubs. He was traded to the A's last season.
Wake up to a warm, toasty Black Forest ham, egg, white, and cheese from Subway. Get it freshly made the way you say with all of your favorite veggies and toasted to perfection on flatbread. Subway, build your better breakfast.
You're listening to the Sports Fix.
Hot sun beating down, burning my feet just walking around. Hot sun making me sweat. Gators getting close.
There we go. A little social media spruce up here, man. Trying to keep the love going, baby. Keep the conversation going as we roll into hour 2 of the Sports Fix numero dos coming your way. J-Rock back with you here, rolling on. And shout out to Steven on Facebook. He was all happy he heard himself on the show earlier. He's like, hey, there we go. So told you guys, remember, if you can't call live, you can call anytime, and it's like being live, baby. What's the old thing? If you haven't seen it or heard it before, then it never happened before. 216-539-7535 is always the number to call. And, of course, you guys can hit us up, Facebook and Twitter 24/7, facebook.com/The Sports Fix. Tweet with us at The Sports Fix, CLE. Email us, thesportsfix@AOL.com. Again, 216-539-7535. Facebook.com/The Sports Fix. Tweet with us at The Sports Fix, CLE. And again, going back to what we were talking about before the break here again, coming back, we were talking a little bit about the Browns, well, a lot about the Browns, but we were talking Manziel. LG had called in before the break, and I will re-clarify again, and we mentioned this during the segment. Technically, Johnny Manziel wasn't late for the game. He was just later than everyone else. So take that for what you want. You can correct me all you want. You can say, oh, he wasn't late to the game. That's fine. If I'm trying to... I've got a cat on the ropes. I don't sit back and let him catch his breath. You know what I'm saying? I got a cat on the ropes. I don't sit back and let him get back in the fight. But, whatever. Like I said, if I'm an agent, I'm teaching a class to every one of my potential people. It's called How Not to Get on the Field 101, starring Johnny Manziel, because he's done it all the way across. But I know, hey, whatever, man. I don't know what I'm talking about. So I just wanted to clarify that there as we get ready to go to the phones. Dan Wismar from the Cleveland Fan. We're going to talk Browns. We're going to talk Buckeyes, playoffs, baby. And they are indeed playoff bound. Let's pick up right there. Dan Wismar from the Cleveland Fan. Dan, how you doing this afternoon, my friend?
I'm doing very well, J-Rock. Good to be back with you.
Good to have you here, and we'll get into the good stuff here. Got a lot of Buckeyes and actual playoffs to talk about. Bama, I can't wait. What a hell of a weekend that Wisconsin game. But let's keep it where we're at here. We're talking Browns most of the first hour, as you probably heard, and as you would have expected, even if you weren't listening. And so here we roll now into the next week of this thing. What I was going to say right before I brought you up is what I find funny is still, and this will go to whatever reason you want for this, but on the fan side of things, looking at all of our interaction, now I will say that there's a dramatic shift in what people think the Browns should do at quarterback from last week. But the reason I say that is because last week it was still very heavily slanted towards Brian Hoyer. The dramatic shift still only makes it 50-50, which is where I'm going, wow, even at this point here, and people are still, it's not as landslide, although that's us, and that's all the thousands of people that we deal with. You go to Cleveland.com, they'll tell you that 97% of Cleveland wants Manziel to be the quarterback this week. I know 97% of the Plain Dealer does, that's for sure. But you know what? I get it. I get that, but let's pick up there with Dan Wismar, because I think the problem is that people need to stop and ask themselves, forget Brian Hoyer, why is this still a conversation? Why is this still an issue that is scary if you're a Browns fan that thinks that Manziel is what you hope he'll be? Because, man, come on, we're not talking about preseason, Dan. We're not talking about fighting off training camp. We're not talking about setting good examples for the veterans. At this point, you're fighting yourself not to put him in the game, which is a red 5-alarm fire to me.
I hear you, J-Rock, and I think that there's something to that. The coaches, we said last week, the coaches are the ones that see him in practice. And no matter, even if you are of a mind that, and I am, that the playoffs are gone, a memory at this point for the 2014 Cleveland Browns, it's over. You still want to win games. Mike Pettin still wants to win games. He'll be judged at the end of the year by whether he has 7 wins or 8 wins or 9 wins. And if he still thinks that Brian Hoyer can win him games, and for the fans, et cetera, he may very well feel that his best interests are served by playing the veteran as opposed to playing the rookie. And like you say, the fact that he isn't in there already is an indication that they don't think he can win games. So I, however, am one of those people that, because of the playoff issue and because of what is it now, 4 straight really mediocre to bad performances by Brian Hoyer, that it's time. Let's go. All along we've said, we wanted to see what the kid could do for us. And right now, playoff dream over.